The swing and a push over, playing the to action.
Remember the guy who clucked like a rooster in the ring? Yeah, that was Terry Taylor. But there's a lot more to his story than a bad gimmick. Today, he's 69, so where is he now? And what really happened behind the scenes? Terry started wrestling back in 1979. He was really good in the ring, like technically solid. He wasn't the flashiest guy, but he could wrestle, and people respected that. He worked all over the country during the territory days, back when wrestling wasn't national. He won a bunch of championships and quickly became known as one of the most reliable guys in the business. He could do different styles too. In Texas, where the wrestling was harder and more real looking, he fit right in. He knew how to make a match look good. So for about 10 years, Terry was doing great. Then in 1988, he joined the WWF. That's where everything changed. Instead of building on his solid reputation, they gave him this crazy character called the Red Rooster. It was weird. He wore red, styled his hair to look like a rooster comb, and acted like a chicken. Yes, strutting, pecking, and even saying, cock-a-doodle-doo. It became one of the most laughed at gimmicks in wrestling history. Some people think the gimmick was actually a punishment. There were rumors that Terry had a habit of reporting other wrestlers to management, and they gave him this embarrassing character to make fun of him. JBL even said the whole thing was a joke from the office just to humiliate him. Terry himself said he hated it at first, but took the job because he needed the money. And once he accepted it, he tried to have fun with it. He leaned into the bird jokes and made it work the best he could. But let's be honest, it didn't help his career. The Red Rooster gimmick basically locked him into mid-card matches. He rarely won and usually looked silly. That gimmick followed him around for the rest of his career, even though he was a great wrestler before all that. After his time in the ring slowed down, Terry moved into backstage roles. He worked in WCW in the late 90s as a booker and road agent. He helped put together matches and storylines. Some say he even had a hand in the big NWO storyline, which was one of WCW's biggest successes. But he also had problems with some of the top guys: Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Eric Bischoff. There was a lot of tension, and he eventually left WCW. He then worked for WWF again, and later in TNA from 2003 to 2011. In TNA, he helped with creative stuff, trained talent, and worked behind the scenes. He always pushed the idea that wrestling wasn't just about moves, it was about emotions and storytelling. He wanted people to care about what was happening in the ring. He stayed with TNA until 2012, when Bruce Pritchard replaced him. But here's where things get messy. A lot of people didn't like working with Terry behind the scenes. So what happened? Why did so many people have a problem with him? Well, the biggest thing people said was that Terry acted like an office stooge. That means they thought he was too close to management and would run off to report on what other wrestlers were doing wrong. Kind of like being the teacher's pet in school, but worse. JBL once said the whole Red Rooster gimmick was a rib, a joke played on Terry because of this exact reason. Whether that's true or not, the fact that people believed it shows how much that image stuck with him. But that's just the start. There were other, more serious claims too. Some wrestlers believed that Terry used his power backstage to hurt people he didn't like. Scotty Riggs once said that Terry purposely booked him badly in WCW. Why? Because of a personal issue involving an ex-girlfriend. That's pretty wild if true, and it makes people wonder how much personal drama was affecting professional decisions. Scott Steiner wasn't a fan either. He reportedly cussed Terry out backstage and accused him of trying to mess up his career. Psycho Sid had a similar story. He said Terry would use his agent role to create power for himself and had a weird way of rubbing people the wrong way. Sid even mentioned a time when a friend of his was getting a tryout and Terry somehow got in the way. And it doesn't stop there. Online, especially in Reddit threads where fans and insiders chat, there have been some heavy accusations. People have called Terry racist and sexist. Some posts point to a lawsuit from the year 2000 where Terry was accused of saying that white wrestlers were better than black ones. That's a strong accusation and definitely crosses a line. There was also talk of someone named Terry writing articles with racist undertones, though it's not fully clear if that was Terry Taylor or someone else. As for how he treated women, some say it wasn't great. There are claims he treated female talent badly and was just plain disrespectful. One comment said he treated women like garbage, and would call up old contacts asking about female wrestlers in a creepy way. Again, these are serious claims and not easy to ignore. But here's the thing, it's not all one-sided. Some people actually felt bad for Terry. Disco Inferno, who was around during those WCW days, said Terry took a lot of abuse from the big stars like Randy Savage, Scott Steiner, and Kevin Nash. He said Terry got treated badly and that the people in charge didn't protect him. So while some saw him as a guy who used his power in the wrong way, others saw him as someone who got stuck in the middle and took the heat without any support. Even Larry Zbyszko, another wrestling veteran, chimed in. He said that while he knew Scott Steiner had a short temper, he didn't personally see Terry getting bullied. Larry mostly stayed away from the backstage drama, so he didn't witness it himself, but his comments still show that not everyone had the full picture. Now, what does Terry himself say about all this? He hasn't responded to every single story, but he has spoken generally about how fans often don't know what really goes on behind the scenes. He said decisions in wrestling aren't always simple. There's office politics, injuries, contract stuff, personal drama, all sorts of things that fans never see. He compared it to someone blindfolded trying to describe an elephant just by touching its tail. You only get a small part of the picture, not the whole thing. So maybe Terry wasn't always trying to be the bad guy. Maybe he was just dealing with a complicated, high-pressure job in a business where everyone's looking out for themselves. Still, when so many people have bad stories about you, it's hard to just brush them off. Whether it was from real actions or just misunderstandings, Terry gained a reputation for being someone who didn't always get along with others backstage. Wrestling, especially in the 80s and 90s, was a wild and intense place. There were huge egos, lots of power plays, and not much protection for people trying to do their jobs. Maybe Terry made mistakes. Maybe he let personal issues get in the way of his work. Or maybe he was a guy caught in the middle of all the chaos, trying to hold it together while taking fire from both sides. Even after all the ups and downs in his career, Terry Taylor is still very much part of the wrestling world. A lot of people might think he faded away after the Red Rooster gimmick or after all that backstage drama. But that's not true. Since 2012, Terry has been working with WWE as a trainer. He is based at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. That is where young wrestlers train to become the next big superstars. Terry is not just a quiet coach in the background. He is actually an important part of the team. The Performance Center has many experienced trainers, and together they bring hundreds of years of knowledge. Terry brings a lot of that himself. He has seen every side of wrestling, from small local shows to big TV moments, from the good days to the tough ones. Now he uses all that experience to guide the younger generation. His job at the Performance Center is very hands-on. He runs training sessions with NXT wrestlers. He watches their matches and gives feedback. He even makes them study old matches to learn the basics. Terry is known for teaching the simple and important parts of wrestling, not just the flashy moves. He believes wrestling is about telling a story in the ring. It is about knowing when to slow down, when to connect with the crowd, and when to build emotion. Terry also says wrestling takes time. You cannot learn it all in a few months. It takes years of hard work and patience. He tells young wrestlers to stay focused and to never stop learning. One of his strong beliefs is that the fans should not control the match. In his words, the audience does not tell him what to do. He believes the wrestlers are the ones who should guide the story. That is a very old school way of thinking, and he stands by it. What is interesting is how well respected he is by the younger wrestlers today. Many of them have said great things about Terry. Joaquin Wilde from NXT is one of them. He said Terry taught him so much. At first, Joaquin found him a little scary because of how much respect he had. But over time, he earned Terry's trust. Now he says Terry is full of gold, and his knowledge is like treasure. Adam Cole also praised Terry. He said Terry taught him the value of being fully committed in the ring. These kinds of words show that Terry is making a real difference. Even with the tough stories from his past, today's talent sees him as a mentor and a guide. So how do we look at Terry Taylor's full career? It is a long and complicated one. He started off strong as a great technical wrestler in the territory days. Many people believed he could be a top star. But then came the Red Rooster character. It was silly and it didn't match his skills. That moment became a symbol of how wrestling gimmicks can hold someone back. Sometimes it's not about talent, it's about what the company gives you. After that, Terry moved into backstage roles. He became a writer, a booker, and later worked in talent relations. These jobs gave him power, but they also brought a lot of blame. Some wrestlers said he buried their careers. Some said he had grudges and used his position to hurt others. There were even serious accusations of racism and sexism. These are not small claims, and they added a lot of controversy to his name. Terry did speak out at times. He said fans often don't see what really goes on backstage. There are office politics, personal problems, injuries, and contract issues. These things affect decisions. Terry said that people only see a small part of the story. It's like touching the tail of an elephant and thinking you know the whole animal. No matter what, one thing is clear. Terry never left the business. He stayed involved and kept working. Even when people criticized him, he kept showing up. That kind of dedication is rare. And now at 69 years old, he is still coaching and helping the stars of tomorrow. Terry Taylor's career shows how wrestling is full of highs and lows. Some fans remember him as the Red Rooster. Others remember the backstage stories. But the new generation sees him as a teacher. Someone who gives honest advice. Someone who cares about the future of wrestling. And maybe that is what makes his story so interesting. He is not just a character from the past. He is still here, still helping, still shaping the future. In a world where careers come and go, Terry Taylor is still part of the show. Not in the spotlight, but behind the curtain, guiding the next wave of talent. That is the story of Terry Taylor, a man with a career full of twists, a man who made mistakes, learned from them, and stayed in the game. A man who now helps others avoid the same bumps he once hit. In wrestling, that kind of journey matters. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that he's stayed in the business for decades. That takes grit, patience, and a deep love for wrestling. Today, while he's no longer in the spotlight, he's helping shape the next generation of WWE stars. And for many of them, he's not just a coach, he's a mentor, a guide, and someone they truly look up to. So what do you think about Terry Taylor? Was he misunderstood? Was he treated unfairly? Or did he bring some of it on himself? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more wrestling stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care and keep the passion for wrestling alive.